mind testing some of the craziest Nintendo Switch 2 rumors there are? And better yet, they're all from you. That's right, I put out a community post, and these are rumors you submitted yourself. And trust me, they get very wacky. Let's get started. Starting with Michael. Hey yo, that's right, we're gonna go through some of the members' rumors first. The Switch 2 gets so hot, you can cook food on it. Challenge accepted. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm ducking so that I'm in the frame. As you can see, I'm currently preheating the Nintendo Switch 2 right now by using the free roam mode on Mario Kart World. That's just what I do. I've also put on my best chef decor. I have Sonic holding a piece of toast with his face, and of course, a Buc-ee's hat. I love Buc-ee's, what can I say? Now, I believe there's actually two crucial ways to cook food on the Nintendo Switch 2. First of all, you have a fan that blows hot air. That thing can get pretty loud. And of course, there's just the back of the system itself. While it doesn't get extremely hot to the touch, I still believe we could see some results. All right, let's see if this is getting hot. The fan's not going yet. Obviously, I haven't preheated this Switch 2 long enough. But what are we going to make? The answer is simple. Minecraft cookies. They were half off. Now, I was thinking of cooking an egg, but let's be real here. That's a lot less fun. It could also destroy my Switch, and I don't want that to happen. Not yet, at least. It's still pretty new. I think I need to help it preheat a little bit by playing it for a second. Hold on. All right, I believe I preheated the Switch 2 enough. Just listen, the fan is going right now. So we must begin. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm actually going to take the Joy-Con off and lay the console on its front, and I have a perfect piece of aluminum foil. The idea is simple. We grab the Minecraft cookie and we place it on top. Now these don't take long to bake, so I'm expecting it to be done in a few minutes. All right, let's wait. I put it on my Nintendo Switch for as long as it's supposed to be cooking in the oven for. Let's give it a test. It might be a little bit softer, but I'm not seeing any progress. Let's put it right on the fan. All right, let's wait again. Okay, it's time to check. Is this Switch even on? Okay, it is still on, so that's good. Let's see if it's any good. I would not say it meaningfully did anything. It warmed it up a bit. That's the best I could say. If you're a chef or have any other ideas of how this could work, let me know in the comments and maybe I'll try it next time. Can you unclick the Joy-Cons another way? As I'm sure you're aware by now, you can just unclick the Joy-Cons with the release button. But can you do it another way? Let's test. Allow me to introduce the multiple ways you can unclick a Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Con. The feet. Detective Pikachu amiibo. I don't know why I'm doing it so high. I probably shouldn't drop the Joy-Con on the floor. Sitting. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4. They said it couldn't be done. So true. There is more than one way to release the Nintendo Switch 2 button. You can also just rip it off. It's hard, but you can. Next up, from Metopia. You can apparently use Joy-Cons as a mouse when connected to PC. Okay, so I got my PC here. There it is. Don't mind the desk, it's a little bit messy. Remember with the Switch 1 Pro controller, you could connect that one to a PC by just clicking the sync button and then going into your Bluetooth settings on the PC and then pairing it that way. I know that it used to work like that, but first of all, will a single Joy-Con pair to the PC? And second of all, will it even be usable, especially with the mouse? We're finding that out now. So here we go, going into the settings menu. So now we're gonna click the add Bluetooth or other device. And then over here, when it says add a device, we're gonna say Bluetooth. So now it is actively looking. So we got other Bluetooth things, but I'm gonna hold the sync button and we're gonna see if it works. Oh, Joy-Con 2! Okay, so I'm assuming I should just be able to put it on its face and use it as a mouse. Moment of truth. All right, so after testing and even doing some research, it's a little quirky right now. Technically, the computer can find the Joy-Con 2, but it can't actually use it. It even seems that right now, even as a controller, if I had a Steam game playing, it wouldn't even work. So that being said, it'll just keep cycling these lights. So no, you can't actually use a Joy-Con as a mouse on the PC. False. Is there an internet browser on the Nintendo Switch 2? I've got multiple comments about this hidden browser. Does it exist? Is it legit? Now, if you're a longtime Russ Vandy fan and go way back, I actually did something like this on the Switch 1 with the Nintendo Switch 1's hidden browser. In fact, I even ordered a pizza using the internet browser. And well, if you're an OG, you know exactly how that went. Anyways, I ordered that pizza using the hidden internet browser on the Switch 1, but can I do it on the Switch 2? So pretty much the main way that people have been figuring out how to use this hidden internet browser, potentially, is they go to their internet settings, and when they find their network, they hit the change settings button. And then you go down to DNS settings. You click manual, and then on the primary DNS, you type in these goofy little numbers. And then from here, you just click save, and then you connect. And from here, you can click whatever web browser you want to use. So we'll go to Google, and you already know what we're gonna watch. Oh yeah, look at him go. That's right, you can go on YouTube. Oh. This feature's not available. Well, you can't watch YouTube. But hey, you can search the web. It's very slow and probably not very secure, but it's possible. Look at this, I can buy a Nintendo Switch 2 from here. Oh, some page content was too large to load. All right, as we can see, it's not a very fast web browser. In fact, I wouldn't use it, and I don't know why you would use it unless you completely lost your phone or iPad or computer or whatever. It's not very optimal. I don't recommend doing this. If you're going to at least test it out, don't put in any banking information, don't put in any passwords. This is not a secure network. I just wouldn't do any of that. And when you're done, I highly recommend putting it back the way it was previously. So true, there is a hidden internet browser on the Switch 2. Syrup Bottle says, does the Switch 2 edition of Sonic Generations work on the Switch 1? Now this is an interesting one. I actually got a little bit of a haul of games here. I did it. I bought Shadow Generations. And I know a lot of people have issues with the game key cards. I know, I'm sad too. I am. But you might also be thinking, why in the world did you buy that? Especially because I already had it on Switch 1. I'm a donut head. Now, there's one thing that this game does that I think a lot of the Nintendo Switch 2 owners absolutely hate and despise, including myself. There's actually no upgrade path. I don't know why. Even if it was $10, that would have been something. Almost every game that has a Nintendo Switch 2 edition that's also on the Switch 1 usually has like a $10 upgrade path. We've even seen it as low as like $3. So needless to say, it's kind of silly that the Switch 2 edition doesn't. As we discovered in one of our previous rumor videos, some Nintendo Switch 2 editions can be played on the Switch 1, like The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I can put this in on the Switch 1 and play the full Tears of the Kingdom game on the Switch 1. So, because there's no upgrade path, is it possible to play the Switch 1 edition of this game with the Switch 2 cartridge? I gotta find out. Look how much better the Switch 2 cases are. I wanna buy them all. I also gotta say, I played this entire game on Switch 1, and even though it ran pretty poorly and it didn't look the greatest, the game was phenomenal, and I actually do want to try it on the Switch 2. I wish I didn't have to repay for the full game, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Business expense, am I right? Please subscribe. First of all, let's get whatever game's out of here. Let's open this up. All right, the seal is broken. There's no going back now. I officially own 2 copies of this. Although it's kind of interesting because this is the day 1 edition for the Switch 2, even though this game came out in October of 2024, so that's not confusing. Anyways, first of all, we gotta make sure that Sonic Generations even boots up on the Switch 2. We gotta make sure it works. Yeah, I know. It's a game key card. Let's download it anyways. There it is. Now that has to download. We will now see if it works on the Switch 1. Man, every time I go back to the Switch 1, it just feels so small to me. All right, here we go. Let's put it in Sonic Generations. Here we go. The game card could not be read. Please remove and reinsert it. Wait, that's different than normal. Wait, okay, even a game like Cyberpunk, I think it's different. Switch 2 software cannot be played on this system. So honestly, the Switch isn't even registering it as a Switch 2 game. It's just like, bro, help me, what is happening? It just doesn't even read it. So false. The Switch 2 edition of Sonic Generations does not work on Switch 1. Is this video sponsored by G2A? Yes. Yes, it is. G2A.com is a website where you can get some great gaming deals. Seriously, they're crazy. And it's perfect for anyone who plays video games, like you, which is why you're watching this video, I think. But it's especially for the players who like to game on the go. I love Mario Kart, which just so happens to be most people with a Nintendo Switch and or phone and or Steam Deck. And you probably have at least one of those devices, I'm assuming. That's right, they got codes for the Nintendo Switch. They got codes for Steam, for mobile games, and even gift cards. So it's great when you play games on the go, like in a car, under a tree, or even just lounging around in the living room if someone else is watching the TV. And look at these Nintendo Switch games. How are they this cheap? I don't know how this is possible, but I'm thankful. G2A.com is celebrating summer with special offers on games you can take anywhere with you. So true, this video is sponsored by G2A Games. Check out the first link in the description to check out G2A.com. Thanks again to G2A.com for sponsoring this video. All right, back to it. Can you still play NES Golf with the Easter egg? Now, this might seem random at first, but there's actually a really cool and kind of sad Easter egg that the Nintendo Switch 1 had that we gotta see if we can do it on the Nintendo Switch 2. First off, let me show you on the Switch 1 what we're getting into here. All right, so if you go to System Settings and then you go to System and click Date and Time, you can adjust the date and time and go back to July 11th, 2015. Now, why is it July 11th, 2015? Well, first of all, I just gotta say, today just so happens to be July 11th, the day I'm recording this, so it's officially been 10 years since what we're talking about happened. What happened? Why is this Easter egg on July 11th, 2015? Well, that was actually when Satoru Iwata passed away. That used to be Nintendo's president. And my goodness, I remember the day back in 2015. I was genuinely so sad. They're honoring him in a very cool way. So if we click OK on July 11th, 2015, we go back and we disconnect the Joy-Con. All we need to do is do this. Hold the top buttons and do this. Well, it actually turns out that they removed it from the Switch 1. So you can't even do it from the Switch 1.
Success.
I guess let's see if it's possible on the Switch 2. Now, since today is actually July 11th, this should just work. This rumor is false. They took out the Easter egg, which is actually very sad. Can you subscribe in the next 2 seconds? 1, 2, 2.5. Please subscribe. And hey, if you want to support the channel even more, you should become a member. We got all sorts of perks there. Trust me. Here are the names of all the people that are joined right now. They're epic. They're really cool. I love them. Can you use an actual PC mouse on the Switch 2? Now, if you're a true one, you might already know that I've tested this before. However, I used a Bluetooth mouse, and some people thought that that didn't really count. It needed to be hardwired. So let's just quickly test this to get it over with. I don't think it's going to work, but we can try. Now, some games apparently do have third-party mouse support. I think the only one is Nobunaga's Ambition, but I don't have that game. It just does not look interesting to me in the slightest. So, Fortnite. I'm going to plug this in now to the side USB. All right, we're plugged in. The mouse is on, but is it working? I don't think so. I don't think it's working. Maybe there's like a little setting. I'm not seeing it. This is false. A USB mouse does not work. Next up from Little Roger, can you play mouse mode in any orientation? Upside down, etc. As long as it's sliding like a mouse? Interesting. It seems like you think the mouse mode can only be used on a flat surface downwards. Actually, I kind of understand that. Why in the world would it be upside down? Why in the world would it be sideways? Let's test. All right, so obviously it works on a surface like my desk here, as you can see. Yeah, it works. Now, does it work on its side? Let's test. I'll use my thigh. Wait, it's not working. It doesn't work alongside my body, but I feel like I've done that before. Let's go on the wall. Wait, it actually doesn't. Wait, upside down? My mind is actually blown right now. I thought it would work on any surface regardless of the direction it's facing. I'm actually shocked. What the heck? I did not think that was going to be true, but I guess it does make sense. The only way it activates mouse mode is if it's on its flat surface, probably using the gyro or the accelerometer or whatever it's called. That's how it knows that you're intentionally using it as mouse mode. Would you look at that? So you can play mouse mode in any orientation? False. You can't. Crazy. BenHawk13 says, does the light that used to be around the home button on the Switch 1 break some games on the Switch 2? Now, some of you might not even know what in the world he's talking about. If you weren't aware, the old Switch 1 Joy-Con, this actually could light up. I know. Some of you might be shocked right now. Didn't even realize. This generally happened when notifications showed up on your Switch, like if you get a friend request, or if an alarm goes off for you to play Ring Fit Adventure. What about on the Switch 2? Will it bug out the Switch 2? First of all, there is no light on the Switch 2. It is just a home button. There's nothing around it. There's no LED light. There's not really any games that utilize this light feature in the first place. The only one that comes to mind is Ring Fit Adventure, but even if you play Ring Fit Adventure on the Switch 2, you have to connect a Switch 1 Joy-Con anyways. So I'm just gonna say no. False. It does not bug out the system. Next up, can you download a game key card on multiple Switch 2 consoles? Now, at first, I was kind of confused, but I also kind of understand what you're saying here. There have been a few games that have been announced recently that just have game codes in the box, like friggin' Tony Hawk Skater 3+4, or heck, even Split Fiction. You open it up and there's just a code in the box, and then that's it. Once one person downloads the code, this is completely useless. You can't trade it, you can't sell it, nothing. But game key cards, on the other hand, is a little bit different. There's not an actual key code, and you don't download it to a specific profile, like Code in the Box games. You can actually plug it into any Switch 2 console. That being said, you can use game key cards on multiple systems. Again, you just gotta have the cartridge in the Switch if you wanna play it. So true, you can download the same game on multiple Switches. Frost X says, can you play Switch 2 games on the Switch 2? Yes. Yes. Alexander says, can you use an OG Nintendo 64 controller on the Switch 2? Now, if you didn't know, Nintendo sells classic controllers for their Nintendo Switch Online service. You can play classic NES games, SNES games, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo 64, and even now, GameCube. And along with those services, you can choose to buy a Bluetooth brand new version of those controllers. So I actually have a Nintendo 64 controller that wirelessly connects to the Switch. I don't actually have it with me though. I left it at home. So let's try it out there. We're back in my kitchen. Future Russ here. Hello. You can also tell it's future because I have barbecue sauce on my shirt. I had lunch since I tried to bake a cookie on the Switch. I had no idea how that happened. Anyways, it makes sense that a Nintendo 64 controller could connect to the Nintendo Switch 2. As my good sir, the app is on the system. So let's go to controller settings, hold that sync button, and it's connected. And now I can game. So true, you can connect a Nintendo 64 controller on your Switch 2. Can you use both mice at once? Now this is a little bit of a complicated question here, Buster. Well, first of all, both Joy-Con do have the capability of using mouse mode. They both got that mouse sensor, baby. You know it. So I guess the first test would be, would there be two cursors or would they share the same cursor? Let's test it out. This is pretty simple. You got the one, that just works. And then you can bring in the second one, that just works as well. If you use them together, there's not actually two separate cursors. You can just use both inputs at the same time, and they're kind of, to be honest, they're kind of fighting with each other here. However, you can use more than one mice at a time. We know this in hit games Drag and Drive, which I played, and that's a very unique experience. But if you want to use it in classic cursor mode, and welcome to our, you can play the Twin UFO game, and I'm gonna play it now. You control two UFOs and you gotta collect these stars, and my goodness, it is difficult because you gotta keep them both alive at the same time. I'm trying to 100% welcome to her still. I'm not losing my mind, I promise. Oh my god. True. You can use two mice at a time. Can you charge a computer with the Switch 2 USB-C connected together? I'm assuming they're saying, can the Switch 2 charge the PC? Let's find out. Now, if you've watched my last video, you may or may not know that the Switch 2 can actually charge not only my phone, but another Switch 2. It was actually wacky and I didn't expect it at all. But we gotta see, can it charge my laptop? So here we go. I'll plug it in from the bottom and let's do this. And on the computer, wow, it actually is charging. I don't know why that's so weird. I wonder if it actually like holds a charger or not. Regardless, it's charging. So technically, yeah, true. Can the Nintendo Labo software be booted up but not used? So this question comes from the fact that Nintendo has said one of the only games that's not playable on Switch 2 are the Nintendo Labo kits. And that's mainly because a lot of those Labo kits were made around the exact size of the Nintendo Switch, specifically the OG Nintendo Switch. So you got like the VR goggles that wouldn't work. You got the big robot kit that wouldn't work. And like the keyboard. The Switch 2 just can't fit in it, so it automatically just isn't compatible. The question here is Nintendo gonna not allow you to even open up the software at all? Or can you boot it up and just not use it? Good question. I love it. Let's test. Here we go. One thing I always found really weird is the fact that this box has like a black spine and not the traditional red spines that we're used to seeing. That was very quirky of them to do that. But also it's quirky that they made us play with cardboard too. So all right, let's try this. Open up the Switch 2. Got the lab. Oh, there's some. Whoops. My bad. And let's put this in. Okay, it showed up on the screen. Very nice, very nice. Now, will it boot up or will it not? Here we go. New update is available. Let's download it. This is actually looking pretty promising. Oh my goodness, it actually opened. I would have just thought there was like a menu that said, sorry bro, you can't play it. Man, this is a wild game. All right, so there we go. So true, you can actually boot it up. Next up, do games that don't have a Nintendo Switch 2 edition still run better? I mean like better frame rate and such. Now at this point, if you're into the Nintendo Switch 2 sphere, which you are, hello. I'm here as well. It has been proven time and time again that most games, if they had performance issues on Switch 1, actually do run much better on Switch 2. For example, I tested the Patrick Star game. I love using that one as an example for some reason. It's just one of the worst games on Switch 1. It barely ran. But even that one was a locked frame rate. It was still 30 frames per second because that's how the Switch 1 version is baked, but hey, it did still run better. So I would say overall, your entire Switch 1 catalog should just inherently run better because the hardware is better. So true, it does. Can you access YouTube YouTube on the Switch 2? This is kind of a bizarre question. We obviously love YouTube. Everyone here watching loves YouTube. I love YouTube. This is how you're watching the video. YouTube is epic and good. The Switch 1 had an app that actually allowed you to watch YouTube, but on the Switch 2, it's a little bit different. You see, I can still have the game installed on my console, but when I click it, couldn't start the software. I thought this was just working when I first got the Switch 2. I also don't understand why it wouldn't be able to work, so I've tested a few things. Uninstalling and reinstalling, that didn't work. Looking up a Switch 2 edition on the eShop, it doesn't exist. And as you saw earlier, when I got into the secret web browser on the Switch 2, I tried to access YouTube there, and it literally just didn't work. I could click videos, I could search the menu, it just didn't work. So false. There actually is no way to watch YouTube on the Switch 2 right now for some reason, but I hope that comes out soon. What are some Switch 2 rumors you've heard of? Comment down below and you might be featured in the next video. Also consider liking and subscribing and joining the epic list of names of people. It's so cool. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later.